in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You burying me, burying me. Yeah, you burying me, burying me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy, but the light has got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my head again. Is it wrong? Is it right? It's like I've won my final war without a fight. I'm out of control, about to blow. I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. I know you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy, but the light has got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my head. I am in misery. Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around. They all are judging me when I'm lying on the ground. I've got no shelter, I've got no escape. My life is a prison and I can't run away. I feel it in my bones, I'm losing it all. Stuck in my head, I am in misery. Deep inside myself, all I get, my only family. Stuck in the grave, can someone rescue me? I'm burning alive, I got it, I am in misery.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Taking Over. I'm hoping everything's working out correctly because I'm doing this by myself. Hey, SCG, thank you for stopping by. I'll confess the Taking Over theme song is the best song. Yes, I agree with that. Yes, I am by myself, so I'm not used to this. So I gotta relax a little bit. I got a lot of buttons to press today. So yeah, Ed is not feeling well tonight, so that's why I'm completely by myself. So we'll see how everything goes. Ed, everything's going good, okay? Okay, because I feel like it looks a little bit slow for me, so we'll see. I am a little bit sleepy, to be honest, but we got some water in our Haterade, so we'll survive tonight for a little bit. T, rather you're good at this. I don't know if I am. We'll see. You have the secret of producing and hosting. I don't know about that. That's the reason why I don't do it. But I figured let's talk about NXT. It was a lot of show. Actually, I feel like a lot happened for even like the beginning of the show itself. It felt like a lot happened for the last hour, and then I realized it was only been an hour when it happened. Yes, you have done it. I know. Hello, Astrid. How are you? Let's go. Yeah. Hopefully, Millie will join us in a little bit. She's one of those people that's missing tonight. So hopefully she'll stop by in a little bit too. But yeah, a lot of stuff happening tonight. As I was gonna say, as Ed titled it, Title Tuesday, we had 3 titles on the line tonight. So there's a lot happening for one show. We opened with Tony D'Angelo and Luca walking in, making their way to the venue. I could tell this was shot earlier in the day just because around the time that the show was starting, it was there was a big thunderstorm and it was very dark and it looked very bright and pretty outside. So that's why we did this earlier in the day. Oh, she's modding. Okay, so she probably won't be here for a little bit then, most likely. Yeah, and then we see, surprisingly, Obafemi making his way to the venue, and he gets attacked by Jasper Troy again. One thing I'll say though, between him and is it Tyra? I think the winners of LG. I'm liking his presentation a lot more than what I am for her so far. I really like the way they're portraying him like on screen for Jasper on so far. It is just the beginning. That's just crazy to think about. He's only been here for what 2 to 3 weeks, and he's already making such a big impact on the show. So I'm really liking so far how it's been going on with him. So yeah, it's like it's not often I would say that you see somebody like Femi being taken down the way he was. And he's done it at least twice now, so that's surprising. I knew she would be coming. No, Tommy Ed told you, that's why. My ears were ringing. Yes, they were. I was saying that I was missing you. You were the only person I was missing from the chat, so I'm glad you're here. um, we opened the show with Ethan versus Shawn Legacy. This is for the North American Championship. Yeah, really fun opener. The only thing I realized though there was a one point towards the beginning of the match that Ethan kicks Shawn, and I could see from the angle that he didn't even touch him. But then it happened later on again with Shawn when he went to kick Ethan and it barely touched him. So, um, aside from that, I feel like they both have really good chemistry together. I really enjoyed the match. This was one of those that I knew for a fact, of course, that there was no way Ethan was gonna lose it. But again, I feel like I have you on the TV actually unmuted and heard you. Well, thank you. I'm glad you did. Um, but no, I feel like it was a very fun match, a really great, fun opener for me here. And yeah, no surprise there that Ethan retains the championship. We get an attack from Ricky Saints right after. Um, I was thinking that I thought that we're gonna have Ricky be off TV for a little bit longer before he showed up. So I was in a way kind of surprised that he attacked Ethan here. But again, at the same time, it does make sense after everything that's happened with him. I'll figure out. I'll add this part here, but later on, Ava's asking Ricky what he would do that when he's not medically cleared to be in the venue, and he tried to talk and he couldn't talk. So she told him, "I don't want to see you until you're cleared to compete and you're medically cleared to be here. So just deal with it later." And like, I don't know what made you think you could be able to do this on my show, kind of response. So I like having Ava taking charge like that, especially with the guys. And I feel like now, for sure, we're definitely not going to see Ricky for at least a couple of weeks because he's not medically cleared until he comes back later. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I feel like that was very well connected so far with the storyline here. I was just thinking that maybe Ricky lost because he was going on the main roster. So at the same time, why would you have him in an injury angle? But we'll see what happens later on with him. I'm kind of curious because I feel like he might get a rematch with Ethan and then move on to the world title because at the same time, I don't think he should stick to the North American Championship division for too long. I'll just stay here and look at Nike Extreme. Thank you. um, yeah, after this, we had Ava with Fatal Influence in her office, and Jacy's talking about what happened last week and all the women that were outside it during her promo. Lainey comes back again, and this time I like how Jacy feels like she's a step ahead. She's like, "Oh, you're not gonna do the route that I did," and basically slap Stephanie the way I did, the way she did, and get a title shot like that. And then Lainey basically said, "Well, I learned from you," and then she still slapped her. And Jacy actually asked for the match to have her versus Lainey tonight with the title on the line. Um, more on that a little bit later. This was something that the next part was something that was posted on social media a little bit earlier. It was Zarya and Soul backstage in the women's locker room that were just having fun together. And then we get Lash is talking to Wren Sinclair about the NQCC, and Carmen is there too, and Kalani gets involved as well. So I figured a match is going to come out of this somehow here. Just didn't know which ones were the people that are going to get involved. But later on, we get Lash versus Wren Sinclair from this part of it here. I know she was saying something about the NQCC along those lines, and that's how everything started. And Wren just starts firing back at her. But again, it's like we still see what I was mentioning last week about the interaction between Lash and Kalani. We do see a little bit of that happening here and there. So that was interesting to see them connected during this segment here. I wanted to look up something that happened a little bit later. Let's see if we can find it here. But after this, we had the promo from the calling. And this was very interesting because this is the one that Izzy is discussing about Brooks Jensen. she gives examples that when they mention family, like he was looking away, he wasn't like focused on what the group is focused on. And she says she has her eyes on somebody. And I had to ask Ed, even though he's not here, he was watching the show. And I thought, does this mean we're gonna get Briggs in the group instead of Brooks? Because that would be interesting, switching from one of them to the other one here. Um, but yeah, this is something that I found interesting. Her saying like I noticed things about him, and she points them out to Niko and Shawn as they're talking about. It's like if they're not committed to the calling, then not be in the group. Basically, that was the summary of this part here. But yeah, this was very interesting about his absence because we still don't have Brooks within the show in any way, shape, or form either. So that was very interesting moving forward the storyline as well. And I think she's talking about Tatum. Yeah, that could be another good one. My mind went to Tatum when she said that. Yeah, I just wonder why kick out Brooks though. It's like you didn't have to kick him out. You could still include Tatum without kicking out Brooks. And I feel like the timing of that was a little bit off for me. Even with her explanation, it just feels like there's something else there that I feel like I'm missing. There's a puzzle piece that I'm missing there, and it just didn't make sense to me the way it was happening. Um, but either way, I think it'll be interesting if we do get Tatum. She wasn't there tonight, but I think it'll be interesting. But this was really good at them showing us and then using things quietly after all these months. Yeah, it still felt kind of, I don't want to say weird. I'm trying to think of another word for it. It didn't connect with me at first. I guess that's the word I'm kind of looking for. Like the timeline of it, if that makes sense. Because I wasn't expecting this to happen the way it did either. It came out of like really out of left field at the same time. So like it threw me off, if that makes sense, from what I was thinking within the group and how like they were as a united front basically. But yeah, I feel like still it's really interesting everything with the storyline moving forward. And then we have the match a little bit later, them versus Josh Briggs and Inamura as well. Right after this is see here. I think I got lost in this part. Yeah. So after this is when we go to the match. And the match itself, I feel like it was fine for me. There was nothing to like really highlight aside from the fact that Briggs is bleeding during the match, and then Colin still wins, and you can still see that even later on, Briggs is still frustrated that he's like, "Anymore, you came back from Japan and you came home here, from home to here for us and have this pursuit, and still basically we're not winning." So I wonder how his focus is going to change a little bit here. Billy here. Also, what happened with Thea being the one on Tato's side? It was brought up, and then they switched to Saruka, with Izzy trying to recruit her. Yeah, it's like I think that would be interesting. I think it's like I do like what Tatum's doing by herself. So that's the only thing, because I wouldn't want her to be in a group, but I like what she's doing there. But again, it will be interesting to see how moving forward how that changes, if anything, a little bit of her character as well. Having to find like a family and friends, because that's what Tatum is all about in her character overall, though. This is the part when we get the part with Ava and Ricky, and then we get Sarah. That's outside of medical. They're checking in Oba. They don't know if the main event is still happening or not because he's getting checked out. So Ed here, I love the transition from the spotlight on Izzy to the promo on Izzy and on in the CWC. Yeah, that's very true. That was very nice. I like that. Even though she doesn't wrestle often, I like that even when she's not wrestling, she'll still be focused on it within the promos or even like at ringside as well. So just because she's not being used like wrestling on a weekly basis doesn't mean the focus is not on her in a different form as well. And I really like that too. Yeah, that was beautifully done. Yes, it was. Um, I'm trying to find a little bit of the graphic, a little bit here. I don't think I see it yet. Okay. Yeah, so we had the part with Oba medical, and then from there you hear a noise and it switches over from medical to Chase U. So it's Andre talking to Kale and Uriah, and basically saying that basically we're gonna put the school back in session at the university. So it's probably next week we'll get some type of class somehow here. But To me, there was not much of anything there aside from that. We do get the vignette about makes me wonder how long they were there standing for it to happen. Yes, me too. I think about stuff like that too. With the timing of them having to wait for Sarah to be in medical, say her part, and then do the noise. Like I forgot what he was hitting the wall or something like that. But yeah, I think about that too. Like the timing, like you have to stay so quiet and still until it is your turn when you do stuff like that. If not, the timing goes really, really off because it wouldn't make sense if Sarah's talking and then you hear that from Andre, for example. We do get the vignette from Mariah May with her new name, which is Blake Monroe. Her name already changed on Twitter as well. I was gonna say, and I'm glad somebody pointed it out. It reminded me a lot of Sabrina Carpenter, and I actually had somebody posted a picture. I'm gonna see if I could share it on here as well. If I remember, because I always do the wrong one. So let's see if I can do it. It reminded me a lot of Sabrina, and I could see that somebody else posted exactly the same like comparison to it. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. As you see here, yeah, the first intro from Sabrina is from her tour. Yeah, it's all basically from her tour if you look at it this way too. So yeah, very similar here. So I think that was interesting. Um, I think of the most random yet logical things I hear myself. Oh, I understand. um, so yeah, a lot of the whole Blake Monroe introduction vignette, it reminded me a lot of Sabrina Carpenter. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that kind of drew that comparison there either, which is very interesting as you can see here. Um, yeah, I really like that though. I like that we get an introduction to her the way we did here. I I'm gonna wait for the name to like warm up for me. Yeah, thank you. Feel the same. I don't hate it. I just had to get used to it. Because I wasn't waiting for more of it, keeping the Mariah, but then changing the last name is what I was thinking when this happens. So, but again, the vignette is fun. I like the fact that we get a little bit of how she is. Pro is almost a carbon copy. I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought about it, but I was just waiting to see if anybody else made that whole reference. Bobby, wrestling has done so well taking from modern pop culture, so the vignette is great. I feel like it was a great introduction to her. A little bit later on at the end of the show, we do get like a breaking news graphic of saying that she's going to do her signing next week, signing her official contract. See if I can find the other one that I have here. This is the one they used here for the breaking news because she's going to be signing her contract her next week as an NXT superstar. But yeah, this is why I definitely like it's something that after Ricky, I noticed that when she debuted, they kept saying the glamour, but they didn't never mention her name. I kept thinking they're definitely gonna change it. Like they're not giving us a clue as to what her name is. I was hoping she would keep Mariah, but just do something a little bit different. I feel like you could have done the May and spelled it differently, but still sounded May at the same time. But again, Blake is a reference to her niece and Monroe, to Marilyn Monroe. So I do like the tributes that she's making within the name here too. It's just gonna feel like Will said, just kind of something to get used to. Yeah, new Blake Monroe's an interesting name. Yeah, definitely interesting. It's like Will was saying, something that we have to get used to. I still feel better. It's better than Gunther. I can tell you that much. Um, and Joe here, I'm glad I'm able to see her grow from lower tier in stardom to becoming a big name. Yeah, I wouldn't say lower tier, but I know I've seen her stuff like clips here and there from her part in stardom. But it's always great when you get to see people grow the way she has. And to me, I saw her from like the W Shop model because that's what she used to do on her Instagram before, and that's how I remember her the most. And hanging out with certain people that I knew from the community. But it's always glad to see somebody that said, this was my dream. A lot of stuff happened between, and then they still ended up making their dream come true. And to know that this is just the first part of her dream, it's incredible to think about. Well, I do wonder how Julia, Stephanie, and Jordan Grace had to keep their name. Yeah, it's always a little bit tricky with everybody. I feel like everybody has a different case, so it's hard to say when we're not there in the room when it comes to them signing their contracts either. But it happens. I feel like most of the time, not always, but most of the time, Debbie wants to own the names and the rights and like the likeness of the person, and hence why it happens that they keep their names. But it isn't always the case, obviously. So, But yeah, just getting used to that. It's gonna be like Ricky saying, it's gonna be getting some used to. I may still call her Mariah for now while I'm getting used to it, but I get where everybody's coming from here. Um, Now we get Lash versus Wren Sinclair. We do have Kalani in commentary. I do like the fact that she mentioned that she has learned. I think it was from Booker, if I'm not mistaken, which I was very surprised about. About not having friends in the industry of learning that you have to think for yourself. Like the only person that can think of for me is me. And talking about like the clashes that she's had with Lash so far, which is the first one was when Stephanie was walking out to face Jacy. You see that Lash kind of moved Kalani out of the way. Last week at the promo, Kalani was talking when Lash interrupted her again, but they keep playing off of that as well. So it's something that I noticed when it was happening the first week, and I knew they were gonna keep giving us a little bit more regarding that here. And I feel like this was really a really fun match. I like the fact that we get to see a little bit more of Lash. I missed Jakara being by her side. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I'm glad for her to get this particular spotlight here with Wren. I fun match. I like the submission that she does. She does a submission. She move her body around what she does it here. Again, the like those pump kicks and the big boots from Lash, very powerful. She did great here. This one I feel like it's one that it's not surprising as well to see Lash winning, but I feel like they had a really fun match. It's just not much to like really highlight here though, per se in the in like if anything that stood out. But I feel like they did really great for the time they had. And I wanted to mention this part because it's coming up next. We do get Lainey's on her way to the ring, and I like the fact that they put her vignette of calling her like the Southern Sensation. She was a rodeo champion, a track athlete. I like the fact that they give us this vignette, a background into her before we get into the title match with Jacy. And waits for the NQCC to inevitably grab. I mean, they already got rid of Biles in a way, and then Tavion's just like, can I be next after everything that happened? So maybe it's bittersweet, that's for sure. I get that. I like how we started off like not really liking the Candy Crew, and then now we're like, we don't want you to break up. But you know, it happens in NXT when things happen like this that they're doing really well for themselves, and sometimes it's just time to move on, unfortunately. But I'm glad that at least we can see the group interacting with each other somehow. That's what I would like to see still happening. But yeah, we get an interview with Jasper here before the Jacy and Lainey match. Here in the interview, he gets asked about like, why would you attack Oba before the match? Because then the match gets canceled and you basically lose your championship opportunity. And he's like, no, I won't, because Oba's the kind of person that he'll do what he does best and he'll still go through with having the championship match. So basically I have nothing to worry about. It kind of like just weakened him for myself is basically what he was saying. And I like that point of view of like, he knows that Oba's not gonna be that type of person to like really quit the match, and the match is still gonna happen. It just not gonna happen with Oba being 100% basically. But I like the point of view that he brought over and during this interview here. And again, I'm liking the presentation we have from him so far in NXT. And here we have the Jacy versus Lainey match. I feel like Lainey did really well for herself. This is the first time I really watched her wrestle. I like the fact that they mentioned in commentary that she helped Charlotte return from her injury, so she's been like learning from Charlotte behind the scenes as well. And yeah, I feel like I like her so far. I feel like there were moves here and there that could have been a little bit better, but I feel like she was pretty smooth, at least in my opinion. I don't know if Ed would agree with me later. We'll see about that next week, unless he's in the chat still. But yeah, I feel like she was pretty smooth. I feel like she did very well. I think one thing that she really does that will make a difference with her is that she has already the crowd behind her. And I feel like that doesn't happen often with people that are getting introduced in that type of way. But it also helps that they do like Level Up, for example, that gets taped usually before NXT. So a lot of people have seen Lainey for a little while. They've been familiar with her, at least in the CWC. So I feel like in that sense of it, it helps because now when she's in the title match, she's getting a huge reaction because a lot of them are very familiar with her at this point. And yeah, I feel like that she did very well. And no surprising here, Jacy still retains the championship. But I feel like I think they had like I would say like 10 to 15 minutes, and they did really well together here. They had a really good chemistry. We still have moments that Fatal Influence is still getting involved somehow as well. But really, maybe it's because I'm also a Southern girl, but she comes across as so genuine and likable. Yeah, I feel like she definitely came up more likable and like relatable on screen, and I feel like a lot of people don't get to really portray that. So I feel like a lot of people really were able to connect with her, and that's something that I feel like to me it's one of the hardest things about wrestling is connecting with the fans and getting that reaction from them. And I feel like she was able to do that tonight, and this is just the beginning for her. But yeah, and then we have Jacy winning, and then Ava's music happens. So Jacy's looking at the entrance ramp, but then Ava's actually in the Eagle's nest. And she comes up with this big announcement, and she says there's going to be 4 singles matches, and then the winners of every single singles match will be in a fatal four-way June 24th, and the winner will be facing Jacy at Evolution. So we do get Lash versus Kalani. Again, this is something that's been brewing for a little bit now, just like it is with the Jada Parker. That's something that's been like warming up here a little bit here too. Zarya versus Izzy Dame, and then Lola versus Jordan Grace. Most of the girls were at ringside when this was happening. I didn't see Jordan or Izzy, but the rest of the girls were at ringside as the announcement was getting made. And yeah, the winner's gonna face Jacy at Evolution. So really excited to know that we get officially the first match announced for Evolution will be Jacy versus whoever wins this series, these matches. So I'm really glad that they're building up to Evolution this way and including the NXT girls. So really excited. I feel like this is a really good lineup and it could go either way. The one thing I was surprised about, as Billy says, I love this. I felt more of the girls that just kept appearing. Oh, okay, Jordan was there. I didn't see her. But I like the fact that it wasn't a battle royal because I was expecting it to be a battle royal. I was just waiting for her to announce it for next week already. So I'm glad there's certain people already picked for this. And it's like whoever wins their match will go in the Fatal 4-Way for the Fatal 4-Way go into Evolution. And I like that build up here, especially because it's, I would say most of the girls that were in the promo there last week. So really well done. Okay, she was right at the end. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't get to see her well on that part. But yeah, I like the fact that we get this visual of the girls at ringside as this is getting announced as well. So really looking forward to it. I feel like this gives them a little bit of time to like really think things through on the direction for the opponent for Jacy. Yeah, as you say, really all the matches actually make sense. Yeah, and that's what I like about it. It's not just a battle royal that it just kind of like random. At the same time, they're all like, as I like to call them, like mini storylines that have been happening here, and they're connecting them for this at the end. So it's really well done. But it makes me really excited for that build up for Evolution. And this is later when we see Josh and Inamura and backstage. So just Briggs is just upset that they still lost. After Inamura just came back, and we get first class, so it's AJ Francis or Flop Doll as we like to call them, and Kissy Navarro, saying that their tag team championships are gonna go to their waist. And AJ likes to point out that he had been here before and he's still gonna take over the locker room again. And then we get Elijah coming in, who had a huge reaction as well from the crowd. And this itself, it's building up for a match that is for next week as well, the 6-man tag that we have in between both of these groups. So yeah, really interesting here. We do get, it'll be Inamura, Briggs, and Elijah versus AJ Francis, Casey Navarro, and Trick Williams. Really funny enough, at least half of them Tatum could interview, and it could make sense. Yeah, actually, now that you're talking about Tatum, and I keep forgetting to point it out here too. I interviewed with Javi's life on, and Auntie, I'm glad you're here. Our interview with Javi. Oh wait, I got the hearts. Yay! With Javi is live on the OLE and my YouTube channel as well. I'm gonna try to put a clip here. Hello, Brendan. I'll put a little clip here for our interview with Javi. Here we are asking, well, Ed was asking him about his wish list of the people he wants to face now in the Indies.
To see, based on your social media, the interests of people that you want to work with: Cedric Alexander, Dijak, Effie. Who else is on your independent wish list for?
We've got, I've got quite a few. So you've already mentioned Cedric, Effie, and Dijak. I mentioned a while back on a different interview and even online, like I mentioned, Trevor Lee. Me and him actually, I believe he was my first real match on NXT TV. And I look back and like, man, I'm so much better now. I'm so much better now. I'm ready to put on a banger with him. So I'd love to work Trevor Lee. Matt Cardona, me and him were on a show at Reality of Wrestling maybe a year and some change ago, when he tore his pec, actually. I would love to wrestle him. Nick Namath, he is a bucket list person for me for sure. I met him very, very briefly at the Performance Center when he came by in NXT in the early days. Very short, very just, high and by. But he took the time to talk to me and speak with me, and I just thought it was really cool. He's a down-to-earth guy. Of course, I got buddies all over the place. So my buddy Zach Wentz, I'd love to mix it up with him. Zach Wentz, I'd love to work him. Down to Reality Wrestling, they have some guys down there too. I'd love to wrestle Will All Day, Danny Limelight. So I'm ready to get out and get everywhere.
Yeah. As I said, the interview is live on the OLE in my YouTube channel there as well. Oof, I messed this up. Sorry, Ed. I hope I did. There we go. So yeah, our interview with Javi is live on the channels. Really great opportunity that we would interview him and talk about Tatum and talk about what it's being a core kid for him. Explaining that to Ed. We called it his indie wish list representation. Talked about his interviews with Mackenzie, how that went about as well. And what he learned from being in the PC and so many other topics too. So really great opportunity that we were able to talk to him after always rooting for him in NXT. So if you haven't yet, go check it out. If you can, watch it in one of the channels and then hit the like button on the other one as well. Leave us a comment as well. Who knows if we keep this going from there and we interview other people here too. It was really fun. And I usually don't get, I think this is the first time I do it I was just say like a group interview like this with Ed and I taking turns and actually giving Javi the questions. So it was a learning experience for both of us. But again, it was fun and it's really cool to be able to interview Javi, going from getting his cameo for my birthday to actually talking about him, cheering for him. And we love the fact that when he came on the stream here, he recognized the background and he said he remembers our clips from when we campaigning to have him on the show. Hashtag with We Want a Javi. So really cool to have the opportunity that we did to talk to him. So yeah, that was it. Now that you mentioned Tatum, you did here, Millie just reminded me of it. So but yeah, here we have the next part is that we get Luca and Tony on the way to the ring for their match, and before that happens is when we have Millie. I'm not just saying this because you're all my friends, but it's generally a fun interview. Oh, you're gonna make me cry here. We get the one we mentioned earlier about the Candy crew, Tavion and Miles, Charlie, and with Wren as well after her loss. And basically, she says, "Oh, I talked to Charlie, and he's basically fine. He's gonna go through with his word of letting you free from the NQCC after winning." You're welcome for the segue. Thank you. So I like this part too. And then now Tavion said, like, I want to take a shot too of being free from the group and doing my own thing. But I like the fact that Miles said, look, no matter what happens, I know that basically the NQCC is what gave me the foundation to be where I am now. And Charlie's like, yeah, that's true. Something they can take away from that. Makes me want a cameo from the guy. Why not get a cameo from him, especially now? Why not? No, he's very fun. Sorry, I definitely recommend it. I think it was for my birthday 2 years ago, I think, if I remember correctly. That Ed and Mel gave me that cameo from him before. So I actually don't know if I have it. I had to look it up now. But yeah, after this we get Luca and Tony versus Ryze, aka what we call TNT, so Tyson and Tyriek. We get a lot of the interactions here is the fact that Tony doesn't trust Luca after everything that's happened. So at first he tags him in. Luca's getting beat up. He does he has a moment in the corner that he did something so fun, and he got a huge crowd reaction there too. Oh, I mean, my birthday's coming up and I have mental list of chemistry. Like, oh, when is your birthday? Let me know, please. And yeah, then at one point Tony gets the hot tag. Him and Luca do a great here with the double teaming too. And then we get Stacks returning, and as Stacks is returning, he enters the ring. Tony tries to get rid of him, and that's his happening. Luca has a crowbar in his hands, and Tony's like, Me and that Crowbar, we don't have a good history, unfortunately. So that really distracts Tony, but TNT is able to get the win from that. So we still have that kind of brewing there a little bit. Oh, July 4th. Okay. Yeah, you do have very, very close. Um, yeah, this is actually, we get the breaking news about Mariah's contract, aka Blake Monroe. As the match is starting. At first, I was wondering what this was for, and I forgot this could be her because of the Sabrina kind of look-alike cartoon that they gave us. But here we have also the interview with Trick. Trick, he gets congratulated for retaining the championship against Elijah, and he basically says, Santana, you promised your daughter that you come back with the title, so you're a liar. And Elijah just gets some music lessons, and he just basically tries to promote that six-man tag for next week. Nothing out of the ordinary here aside from those parts. And then we get Opa versus Jasper for the main event. This was one that was one of those, I don't even know what to call, like such a powerful type of match. Oh, that's very true. Sabrina means I dream of Jeannie. Yeah, very accurate. I actually like that. Yes, we had at one point that the ropes were breaking. They had to get like 5 referees to fix the ropes as the match was happening. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this is one of those rare times that you get Opa being down. As seeing like Jasper standing tall was something that you don't normally see in an Opa Femi match. So I feel like his presence, his character so far, I feel like they did really well with him during this match, having those moments. That he just overpowers Opa, and it just gives you that doubt, even though you know in your mind that Opa's gonna retain. It gives you that doubt in your mind at the same time. It's like, are they really gonna do this? And they did it with Stephanie, so why are they gonna do it with Jasper too? So I like the fact that they gave you a little bit of that doubt in their hair. At one point, Opa does the spine buster to him, and he actually throws him towards the barricade. And at the end, he ends up retaining the championship. So nothing new on that end of it. But again, it's like I like the fact that they gave you a little bit of doubt, wondering if Jasper does have the formula to beat Oba, but he actually didn't. So, but yeah, I feel like overall really fun match. I feel like that was a great pick for a main event as well. I figured before I leave, I put the other clip that I have here from our interview with Javi as well. Let's see here. You and your interviews with Mackenzie, so that you guys plan all that out beforehand, or how did that work out between you two?
A lot of it's very organic. So I will say this much. The one that I think that I find is set apart from all of them is the Big Body Products interview. And because that in the PC, we have these things called promo class where you go in and you cut a promo and you kind of get better at it, whatever, right? And I did that promo by myself in a promo class. I wrote that segment and it went on TV. So a lot of it was like, how can we make this funnier? Well, what would be better this way? You know, she's great because she plays a very good straight face person. And I'm very, very happy for her that she's doing, she's out in TNA and she's doing all the things that she's doing. I'm very happy for her. And she's great. I'm always, open to ideas. I think wrestling is a very collaborative experience. And to be honest, like her being there to bounce ideas. How can we make this better? How can we make it funny?
I wanted to know about how his interviews with Mackenzie went. So this is something I knew I had to ask in the moment that we had him on with us too. But yeah, if you haven't yet, go check out the interview. I'm gonna go ahead. And if I can find it, hopefully I can. I'm going to put the calendar for what we have for this week before I head on out with the plugs. So I'll be right back in just a moment.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. I run my own way to get there. Fools are calling and the eyes seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of few clouds. So tell me this time is coming for the sake of all your lies. Why don't you try to be wise? Know that I need you, why? Just to feel like I'm fading, and though
there we go. That's all we have for this week on OLE. So a lot of fun stuff happening. So I guess I know we have very little left of hours of requirements for the to get monetized on the channel, which means we get the emotes and we get the subscriptions and all that stuff. So if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when we upload or go live. And again, find something for you to watch in OLE. We do cover so many other things aside from wrestling that I know you can find something you would like and something you can either watch in the background if you want to watch any other like Killer Cuts reviews. If you like horror movies, that's something you can watch in the background and give us the hours that we need to get monetized, which is what the last goal that we have. I know we need a little bit less than 300 hours to go. So I know we can make it because we're almost there. So we would appreciate any help with that. And like I said, like the Javi interview is another one you can watch. And if you have seen it already, watch it again in the background and then hit that like button as well to help us out. And that would be really amazing. With the theme, even Javi likes it. I love I got indirectly mentioned at the beginning of the interview. Yeah, we love the fact that he loved the theme song too. It was really fun. As Bobby says, you know, we couldn't do it without our great reviews. Thank you, everybody. And then we got Bobby's stats. Hi, Bobby. But yeah, as mentioning, just try to find something you like here in OLE. We do cover a lot of different things. So you find something you like here, and if you feel like it's something you don't necessarily are interested in, let us know. Maybe we can find something else that could be more connected to you here. Bobby, I did enjoy Lainey viewed on NXT. Yeah, I did very much too. So yeah, definitely help us out with the last bit that we need. The last requirement that we need to get monetized is less than 300 hours to go so we can get monetized, and we really appreciate it. We could get any assistance on that as well. But yeah, before I head out, just to do the last part here, if I could find it perhaps. I guess I got my used to all these buttons. He's not here, but I still wanted to mention it. For Ed, you can follow him on Twitter and Blue Skies at Fries12584, and his Twitch is at Fries2002. And I know there's a lot of Marvel Talk stuff happening as well, so follow him for any of that coverage there. For me, you can find me on my Twitter, Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro, my Instagram and Threads, Pizarro20. Again, if you're here, you could be on my YouTube channel, so hit the like and on that subscribe button, hit that bell to be notified when I upload or go live. Any support on the videos would be very much appreciated on the way to the goal of 500 subs, so hopefully we get there as well. Bailey, thanks, Ashley. Great job soloing tonight. Thank you. I tried, at least. I hope I did better than last time. Who do you think goes over Feni next? I don't know. Next, I don't know, but I hope in the next couple months we get Ricky Saints, though. Not right now, but hopefully in the next couple months. But yeah, that's it for me tonight, talking about NXT. Thank you, Bobby. Hopefully, Ed will be back next week and join me as well, and we can get his thoughts on what happened on the show this week. But other than that, I'll say good night and then see you again next time.
I am in misery.